Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and reaching for your phone. The screen is black. You press the power button, nothing. You check your alarm clock, dead. You walk to the kitchen and flip the light switch, darkness. You try to start your car, complete silence. This isn't a temporary blackout. This is permanent destruction. Every electronic device, every microchip, every circuit board, fried in an instant by an electromagnetic pulse. And here's the terrifying truth. Most people wouldn't survive the first week. But you're not going to be one of them. In this video, you're about to discover the 12 essential items that will keep you alive when the grid goes down for good. These aren't just supplies to have on hand. They're the difference between chaos and control, between becoming a statistic and becoming a survivor. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to stockpile, how to protect it, and why waiting even one more day could cost you everything. Welcome to Crisis Horizon, where we prepare for the worst so you can face the future with confidence. If you're serious about survival and taking control of your future, hit that like button right now and subscribe to this channel, because the information you're about to hear could literally save your life. Let's start by understanding what we're actually dealing with here. An electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, is a massive burst of electromagnetic energy that can come from two sources, nature or human hands. Solar flares from the sun can send geomagnetic storms hurtling toward Earth, or a nuclear weapon detonated at high altitude can create an artificial pulse. Either way, the result is the same, a powerful surge of energy that overwhelms and destroys electronic circuits in milliseconds. Here's how it works. Every device with a microchip has delicate circuitry that operates on tiny electrical signals. When an EMP hits, it induces massive voltage spikes in anything with conductive material, wires, circuits, antennas. These spikes are so intense that they literally burn out components from the inside. Your smartphone, your car's computer system, your refrigerator, your pacemaker, anything with modern electronics becomes a useless brick. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this is where it gets truly catastrophic. When the grid dies, it's not just about losing your phone. Within the first hour, all communication networks vanish. No cell towers, no internet, no landlines. Radio and TV stations that rely on digital equipment go silent. You're suddenly cut off from the entire world, with no way to know what's happening beyond what you can see with your own eyes. Within the first day, the financial system collapses. Every bank record, every digital transaction, every dollar in your account, it exists only as electronic data. ATMs don't work, credit cards are worthless, online banking doesn't exist anymore. If you don't have physical cash in your hand, you have nothing. By day 3, the supply chain grinds to a complete halt. Modern trucks rely on electronic fuel injection and computer systems. They're dead. Warehouses use automated inventory systems. Gone. Grocery stores restock based on digital ordering. Not happening. The food that's already on shelves gets looted within hours, and there's no more coming. Water treatment plants stop functioning. Sewage systems fail. Hospitals run out of medicine because they can't receive shipments. This is why our entire civilization is balanced on a knife's edge. We've built everything, and I mean everything, on top of technology that can be erased in a single moment. Our ancestors knew how to survive without electricity, but we've forgotten those skills. We've become completely dependent on systems that are incredibly vulnerable. And this isn't some fringe conspiracy theory. The US government has issued official warnings about EMP threats for years. Congressional reports have estimated that within 1 year of a major EMP event, up to 90% of the population could be dead from starvation, disease, and violence. 90%. Military strategists and scientists agree this is one of the most dangerous threats we face, and almost nobody is ready for it. But here's the thing, you don't need to be a victim of circumstance. You can be one of the 10% who makes it. And it starts with the right gear, protected the right way, and knowing how to use it. So let's dive into the 12 EMP-proof items you absolutely must have. First up, communication and information. When the EMP hits and silence falls across the land, your first instinct will be to find out what's happening. Is this localized or worldwide? Where are the safe zones? Are there rescue operations? You need information, and that's where a hand crank emergency radio becomes your absolute lifeline. Unlike battery-powered radios or even solar ones, a hand crank radio requires nothing but the strength of your own arm. A few turns of the crank generates enough power to tune in to shortwave broadcasts and NOAA weather stations. These stations often have backup generators and will be broadcasting critical updates about danger zones, radiation levels if it was a nuclear EMP, and where survivors are gathering. Look for models that have built-in flashlights and USB ports so you can charge other small protected devices. And here's the crucial part. You need to store it in a Faraday.
Wrap it in aluminum foil, place it inside a metal ammo box lined with cardboard to prevent the foil from touching the metal, and seal it up. That box is going to save your radio's life. Keep a spare crank handle too, because if that little plastic piece breaks, your radio is useless. You can get a quality hand crank radio for $30 to $60. Buy it now because prices are climbing every year. Next, you need a way to communicate over distance. Cell phones are dead, the internet is gone, landlines don't work. How do you coordinate with other survivors, call for help, or stay in touch with family members who might be miles away? The answer is two-way ham radios or CB radios. These are analog devices that can transmit and receive over long distances without relying on any infrastructure. No cell towers, no satellites, just radio waves traveling through the air the same way they did 100 years ago. Brands like Baofeng, Yaesu, and Midland make reliable handheld and mobile units that cost anywhere from $35 to $100. But here's what you need to understand. These radios are still electronic devices. They will absolutely be destroyed by an EMP unless you protect them. Store them inside Faraday cages wrapped in aluminum foil, inside metal ammo boxes with cardboard lining. Keep the radios separate from the batteries to prevent corrosion during long-term storage. And before you seal them away, print out local ham radio frequency lists. When disaster strikes, you need to know which frequencies other preppers and emergency services will be using. Having a radio is useless if you don't know where to tune it. Now let's talk about navigation and timekeeping. In a world without electronics, knowing where you are and what time it is becomes absolutely critical. Your smartphone is dead, so you can't check the time or pull up GPS. How do you keep track of schedules for rationing food? How do you coordinate patrol rotations or meetup times with other survivors? You need a mechanical wristwatch. Digital watches and smartwatches are worthless after an EMP, but a purely mechanical watch, the kind with gears and springs inside, no battery, no computer chip, will keep ticking through the apocalypse. Wind it once a day and it runs forever. Timekeeping might sound trivial, but when you're trying to organize a group, maintain discipline, and ration supplies, knowing the exact time is essential. Brands like Seiko, Citizen, and Orient make affordable mechanical watches in the $60 to $150 range. If your watch is purely mechanical, you don't even need to store it in a Faraday cage. Just wind it every few months and keep it dry with silica gel packet. If it has any luminous paint or hybrid features, store it in a metal tin just to be safe. And when your GPS satellites are offline forever, how do you navigate? An analog magnetic compass is your answer. No batteries, no electronics, just a magnetized needle that always points north. It's one of the oldest navigation tools in human history, and it still works perfectly. Look for a lensatic or baseplate compass. Military-style models are rugged and reliable. Pair it with topographic maps of your local area. Laminate those maps to protect them from water damage, and learn how to use them now before you're stumbling through unfamiliar terrain in a crisis. A quality compass costs $15 to $40. Keep it away from magnets and batteries, store it in a pouted pouch with silica gel, and you'll have reliable navigation for the rest of your life. Next, we need to talk about power and light. When the grid is gone, you're going to be living in darkness unless you have alternative sources of energy and illumination. Let's start with power. The sun is completely immune to electromagnetic pulses. Solar energy will keep working no matter what happens to the electronics on Earth. That's why a solar battery charger, properly protected and stored, is absolutely invaluable. You want a foldable solar panel with USB output, ideally combined with a power bank. During the day, the panel charges
charges the battery bank. At night, you use that stored power to run your hand crank radio, charge rechargeable batteries for flashlights, or power small devices. But here's the catch. The solar panel itself has electronic components that can be damaged by an EMP. So before disaster strikes, you need to store it in a Faraday cage, disconnect all cords, wrap everything separately, keep it dry, and seal it away. Once the EMP has passed, you can bring it out and start generating power again. A good solar charger and power bank combo runs $50 to $120. It's an investment that pays off the moment the lights go out. Now, even with a solar charger, you're going to need light at night. That's where oil lamps and candles come in. These are low-tech, foolproof, and they don't care about electromagnetic pulses. An oil lamp uses kerosene or paraffin lamp oil and a wick. Light the wick and you've got steady illumination for hours. Candles work the same way, just wax and a wick. Look for long-burning survival candles or tea lights that can burn for 8 to 10 hours each. Beeswax and soy candles are cleaner and longer-lasting than cheap paraffin. Here's the thing about light. It's not just practical, it's psychological. Sitting in total darkness night after night is isolating, and having a warm glow from an oil lamp or candle keeps your spirits up and makes your space feel livable. Store your lamps and candles in a cool, dry place away from heat sources. Keep matches or lighters in waterproof containers. An oil lamp costs $15 to $40, and candles can be less than $1 each. Stock up now, because when the grid goes down, these will be worth their weight in gold. And speaking of essential survival tools, you need a way to cook food and boil water. Electric stoves and microwaves are useless after an EMP. Even gas stoves with electronic igniters won't work. That's why you need a propane or kerosene camping stove. These are simple mechanical devices. Turn a valve, light a match, and you've got a flame hot enough to cook meals and purify water by boiling. Look for dual-fuel camping stoves that can run on multiple types of fuel for flexibility. Stock up on extra propane tanks or kerosene cans, and rotate your fuel supply every 12 to 18 months to keep it fresh. Add fuel stabilizer to kerosene to extend its shelf life. Store everything in a cool, shaded area away from ignition sources. A reliable camping stove costs $40 to $100, and the fuel is cheap when you buy it in bulk. When everyone else is eating cold canned beans, you'll be cooking hot meals and boiling safe drinking water. Now let's talk about the most critical resource of all, water. You can survive for weeks without food, but you'll die in just 3 days without water. After an EMP, municipal water systems will fail. Treatment plants rely on electric pumps and computers. The water in your tap will stop flowing within hours, and what little remains in the pipes will quickly become contaminated. You need a way to purify water from rivers, lakes, rainwater, or any other source you can find. Electric purifiers and UV sterilizers won't work, but manual water filters, the kind that use physical membranes to remove bacteria, parasites, and contaminants, will keep working forever. The Sawyer Mini is a compact personal filter that can purify up to 100,000 gallons. It costs less than $30 and fits in your pocket. For families or groups, the Big Berkey is a gravity-fed system that can filter large volumes of water. It's more expensive, $250 to $350, but it's worth every penny. Store your filters dry until you need them. After use, backflush them to clean out debris and let them air dry completely. Keep them in sealed containers with silica gel packs to prevent mold and corrosion. Water is life. Without a reliable filter, you're gambling with dehydration and disease. And once you have water, you need food. Canned goods are great for short-term survival, but eventually you'll run out. That's when raw grains become essential. Wheat, corn, oats, barley, these store for decades if kept dry, but you can't eat them raw. You need to grind them into flour or meal first. That's where a mechanical grain grinder comes in. These are hand-powered devices with burr grinders made of cast iron or stainless steel. You pour whole grains in the top, turn the crank, and flour comes out the bottom. No electricity, no batteries, just mechanical advantage and a little elbow grease. You can adjust the grind size for different textures, from coarse meal to fine fine flour. After each use, brush away leftover grain, wipe down the metal parts, and apply a light coat of oil to prevent rust. Store it in a dry, sealed container with a silica pack. A quality hand grinder costs $50 to $150. It's one of those tools that seems old-fashioned until it's the only thing standing between you and starvation. Now, let's talk about tools and currency. When the power goes out, every battery-powered drill, electric saw, and cordless tool in your garage becomes a useless hunk of plastic and metal. You need hand tools, real, manual, old-school tools, hammers, wrenches, hand saws, screwdrivers, hand-powered drills using a brace and bit, a quality multi-tool like a Leatherman. These are the tools that built civilization before electricity existed, and they'll rebuild it again. You'll use them to repair shelters, construct defenses, fix equipment, and improvise solutions to problems you can't even imagine yet. Look for tools made of solid steel with minimal plastic parts. Store them in a dry, sealed toolbox. Wipe them down with WD-40 or mineral oil every few months to prevent rust. A basic set of quality hand tools will run you $100 to $150. It's one of the best investments you can make. Now let's talk about money. When the EMP hits, the entire digital financial system evaporates. Your bank account balance is just numbers in a computer, and that computer is dead. Credit cards are worthless. Online banking doesn't exist. If you want to trade for supplies, barter for services, or buy your way out of a bad situation, you need physical currency. Stock up on cash and small bills. Ones, fives, and tens are ideal because they're easier to use for everyday transactions. Nobody's going to have change for a $100 bill when society is collapsing. But paper money only has value as long as people believe in it. In a prolonged crisis, precious metals become the real currency. Silver is affordable and practical. 1-ounce silver rounds or pre-1965 U.S. coins, which are 90% silver, are recognizable and silver currently runs about $25 to $30 per ounce, but prices fluctuate with demand. Split your cash and silver between multiple hiding spots. If one location is compromised, you still have reserves elsewhere. Store silver in airtight containers with anti-tarnish strips to prevent oxidation. Physical wealth is the only wealth that survives when the digital world dies. Finally, we come to the most important item on this entire list, the Faraday cage or EMP shield bag. Everything we've talked about so far, radios, solar chargers, flashlights, any device with electronic components, is completely vulnerable to an EMP unless it's protected. A Faraday cage acts as invisible armor. It blocks electromagnetic radiation from reaching whatever is inside. You can buy commercial EMP shield bags and Faraday pouches for $25 and up, or you can build your own for under $40. Here's how. Get a metal ammo box, a galvanized trash can, or a steel filing cabinet. Line the inside with cardboard or rubber mats to create insulation. Wrap your devices in aluminum foil, multiple layers if you want extra protection, and place them inside. Make sure the foil doesn't touch the metal walls of the container. Seal the lid tightly. For larger cages, you can ground them to improve shielding, though it's not strictly necessary for most scenarios. Label everything inside so you know what you have without opening it repeatedly. Store backups of critical items in separate cages in different locations. If one cache is destroyed or looted, you have others to fall back on. This is the single most important step in EMP preparation. All the gear in the world is worthless if it gets fried in the first 30 seconds. Now that you know what to stockpile, let's talk about how to protect it and keep it ready. The first principle of survival is redundancy. Never rely on a single anything. If you have one water filter and it breaks, you're done. If you have 2 water filters stored in different locations, you're still in the game. Buy duplicates of critical items, radios, hand tools, compasses, fire starters, and spread them out. Keep one set at home, one in your vehicle, and one at a secondary bug-out location if possible. Redundancy is the difference between a setback and a catastrophe. Next, you have to fight the silent killer, moisture and corrosion. Metal tools rust, electronics corrode, batteries leak. Even the best gear deteriorates if you don't maintain it. Use silica gel packs in every storage container to absorb humidity. Wipe down metal parts with oil or WD-40 every month or so. Store items in dry, sealed containers, not cardboard boxes in a damp basement. Check your supplies regularly. If you find rust, clean it off immediately. If you find a corroded battery, replace it before it damages the device. Maintenance is boring, but it's the price of readiness. You also need to rotate your supplies. Fuel goes bad. Water filters can grow mold if stored wet. Even cash can deteriorate if it gets damp. Every 6 to 12 months, inspect your stockpile. Use older fuel and replace it with fresh. Test your water filters. Make sure your cash is dry and your silver isn't tarnished. This isn't paranoia, it's basic inventory management. The last thing you want is to reach for a critical item in an emergency and find out it's been useless for months. And here's something most people don't think about: the economics of prepping. Demand for survival gear has exploded in recent years. Prices for hand crank radios, camping stoves, water filters, and silver have climbed 10 to 30% annually. During global crises, pandemics, wars, and natural disasters, prices spike even higher and supplies vanish from shelves. If you wait until disaster is imminent, you'll either pay triple or find nothing available at all. Buying now is an investment. You're locking in today's prices and guaranteeing availability. Think of it as insurance you can actually use. But gear is half the equation. Skills are what keep you alive. You can own the best hand tools in the world, but if you've never used a handsaw or a brace and bit drill, you're going to waste hours and make mistakes when every minute counts. You can have a top-of-the-line compass, but if you can't read a topographical map, you'll get lost. You can stockpile ham radios, but if you've never practiced tuning frequencies or understanding radio etiquette, you won't be able to communicate effectively. So, here's what you do. Practice now. Take your hand tools out and build something. Use your compass and maps to navigate your local area without GPS. Fire up your camping stove and cook a meal. Crank your emergency radio and find NOAA stations. Get your hand radio license and start talking to other operators. Join local prepper groups and share knowledge. The time to learn these skills is not when your family is hungry and scared. It's now, when mistakes are just lessons instead of life-threatening disasters. And speaking of communication, building a network of like-minded people is one of the smartest things you can do. Survival is not a solo sport. One person can only do so much, but a group of prepared individuals can pool resources, share skills, divide labor, and watch each other's backs. Use your ham radios to connect with other preppers in your area. Establish communication protocols and schedules. Agree on rally points and frequency.
When disaster strikes, you'll have a built-in support system. Learn to navigate without technology. This is a dying skill, but it's absolutely essential. Get a topographic map of your region and study it. Understand elevation lines, landmarks, water sources, and roads. Practice using your compass to take bearings and plot courses. Go on hikes and navigate using only your map and compass. Leave your phone in the car. The ancient skills of land navigation are simple once you practice them, and they're invaluable when satellites and cell towers are gone forever. Finally, let's talk about mindset. Prepping is not about living in fear. It's not about obsessing over worst-case scenarios or becoming paranoid. It's about freedom. It's about taking control of your future instead of being a passive victim of circumstance. Every item you stockpile, every skill you learn, every plan you make, it's proof that you're thinking ahead. You're not reacting to disaster. You're preparing for it. And when the grid goes down and everyone else is scrambling in panic, you'll be calm. You'll be ready. You'll be in control. The prepared don't sit around hoping for guarantees. They make their own luck. They invest in skills, gear, and knowledge because they understand that the world is unpredictable and fragile. They don't wait for someone else to save them. They save themselves. And when the lights go out, they're not lost in the darkness. They're lighting the way forward. An EMP attack could erase modern civilization in seconds, but it doesn't have to erase your future. By stocking up on EMP-proof gear, practicing essential skills, and protecting your electronics, you can turn chaos into opportunity. The difference between panic and control comes down to what's in your hands and what still works when everything else doesn't. Survival isn't about hoarding supplies. It's about keeping the right tools alive and knowing how to use them.
The grid isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. But with preparation, you don't need guarantees. You just need action. So start building your stockpile today. Get your hand crank radio, buy your mechanical watch and analog compass, protect your electronics and Faraday cages, stock up on cash and silver, learn to use hand tools and read maps, practice with your ham radio and build your network. Every single step you take today is one less thing to worry about when disaster strikes. If you found this video valuable, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to Crisis Horizon. We're building a community of people who refuse to be victims, who take control of their destiny, and who prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The future belongs to the prepared. Make sure you're one of them. Stay sharp, stay stocked, and remember, the grid can fail, but you don't.